This is Dion, and his company is called MARTK'D. It is a sneaker design company that opens up opportunities for young people, everyday young people, not just, people who've gone to college to do this. This is an option for young people around the country. And you've also joined Pensole Lewis College now of
Yes,
business design. I'll let you talk about that a little bit more because I know you don't have a lot of time and I'd rather hear from you.
for
But I
sure.
just wanted to make sure that I did that little intro.
No, no, for sure. Thank you guys for having me. So, like you said, my name is Dion Walcott, the founder of Marked, and recently the director of partnerships for Pensole Lewis College, which is now an official education partner of Marked. Um, so, I'll kind of give you the journey of how Mark came to be, and then I can tell you how we're integrating into Pensole, and then even explore some of the careers that a lot of young people don't know exists um, into the future. So I think that would be pretty productive, so people can pick up some knowledge. So Marked, it's actually called Marked. It's a creative art agency. Our whole idea behind Marked was how do we create a platform for people who have creative skills to be showcased, not only privately but publicly. My background, I was actually a social worker for 10 years. I started with a program that's called Pathways to Education, which was a support and social work program where I had to support the student, the parent, and the teacher. I mentioned that because for me, that was the foundation in trying to help people, because a lot of things that I do now still stem from a social work background. I did that for 10 years. Halfway through my social work career, I started something that was called Toronto Loves Kicks, which was a sneaker mentorship program. And the idea behind that was at that time, I was a really probably addicted sneaker collector where I had over 300 pairs of sneakers. And I had a lot of sneaker friends in the industry. What I ended up doing was going into high schools at lunchtime with my sneaker collection and showcasing it to what they would call the troublemakers. I'm also trained in life skills, so I merged the two together and had a sneaker mentorship program where we would showcase sneakers that were rare, that students have never found before or seen before. But behind that, we would create discussions like, you love Jordans. How do you plan on affording Jordans for the rest of your life? So it went from, talking about sneakers and having fun to real life conversations and merging the two together. That went off really, really well to the point where the school board actually ended up buying the program from me to distribute it across a whole bunch of different schools. Um, at that point, I think that there's I've seen the hooray hooray. I didn't know if it was a hand or a hooray sign. Um, so what was really cool about that was it was actually served as two things. I was a sneaker guy who was teaching, but then also too, I was hiring people who had sophisticated backgrounds. I call it that is because I had a lot of friends who, went away or did crimes and did time. I would hire them to be the facilitators of the sneaker mentorship program because they were the cool kids that a lot of the kids were looking up to, but they also knew about sneakers. Um, so I mentioned that to say the model of what we did 10 years ago is kind of still the same, the model that we're doing today. And I didn't even know that that entrepreneurship journey was something that I wanted to do. It's just merging my passion together with my knowledge that I learned from school and life, and that became a thing. From there, there was a museum by the name of the Bata Shoe Museum that was putting on a sneaker exhibition, and they had heard about the sneaker mentorship program that I had put together, and they approached me to become the director of partnerships and programs for the first ever sneaker exhibition in North America. At that time, I had no idea what partnerships were at all. I only knew what programs were. Um, but then I said to myself, I might as well learn on the job. If they're going to pay for me to learn, I'll do it on the job. But what was really interesting about it, my first partnership meeting that sat in on was with a brand. And the whole hour and a half, what we talked about was like, how do you get engagement from, pretty much being frank, from the Black community, right? And I thought that was very interesting because, like, I had just did 10 years in, the creases of the Black community. So what I realized was like partnerships was less about, the actual job and more about this understanding how young people spend their money and time, and then implementing it into like a system that I didn't know, which was more about terms and terminology than it was about the actual job. So from when I started working at the Shoe Museum, I realized that, okay, there's a space here that you don't only have to be a social worker, you can actually get into business and do good and well at the same time, right? So like, how can we now construct businesses that help, but then also drive revenue for the institution that you work with? I mentioned the Bata Shoe Museum because what happened with the Bata was, at the time, it was called the Art on Sneaker Project. One of the tasks that I had to create was a program that brought in many different walks of life. So not only people who love sneakers, but like what other communities that are around sneaker culture that would love to be a part of the culture that don't necessarily know that it exists. And that was art. So, we took the art community, we took the sneaker community, and then we created the sneaker design project and brought everyone together. And it was more of a social thing at the time where, it's a driving people to the museum. People never used to come to the museum. We'd have drinks, it'd become a party, and then we mash up all these cultures together. So the museum ran its course. I stayed there for 5 years. And then what I realized is that the sneaker has so much power that it was driving engagement and driving people to do things that they never thought they would do. So when I left the museum, I turned the program, which was a social program, upside down and pitched OCAD University, which is in Toronto, my first program, as MARTK'D, and positioned it as an outreach and recruitment exercise for universities to connect with communities that would never usually come to the university grounds. And it would then become an art on sneaker tournament, the same way that you would have a basketball tournament. And we did that for 4 years with numerous different universities. At the end of the fourth year, we started to see conversions. So we started to see the same young person who we did a tournament for in grade 9 now start to attend the school that they had the tournament at. Then I said to myself, oh, wow, we must have something here because um, arts is getting cut all over the nation. How can we now use this as a tool to not only celebrate artists and have fun, but how can we now drive access to education and give them opportunities? But it was very much an event model. So as we all know, why we all got versed in Zoom, COVID hit right when I was at the peak of doing all of these events with different universities, and MARTK'D was getting ready to take off and do a lot of great things. And then the whole event business stopped. So all the in-person stuff we couldn't do anymore. So then I had a puzzle in front of me. And then what happened was I said to myself, since events are gone, what we do have after 4 years of working with university and high school students is a pool of talent. That is just like a pipeline of talent that's sitting there that's now hungry for other opportunities. So then I said to myself, what else can we do with that talent that's not event based? So then we pivoted and started to do boot camps where now we would teach young people different ways you can get into the art and sneaker community and put them in front of brands, because brands also had the same problem as us. It's like there's no more events. So now, since there's no more events, how can we also engage with the young people? So we built a model where it was a 4-day boot camp. I use Puma as an example, or sorry, New Balance, where we did something on Thursday, exposed them to the concepts. They worked on project-based learning through Friday, Saturday, and then they presented what they created on Sunday to the brand, with an opportunity to get their project made. So now what I had was, I had the art on sneaker competition, but I also had an access to education platform that I had kind of built by mistake. Once we did that in Detroit, that model started to catch on because we had so many young people who didn't know that storytelling was a thing. Color design is a thing. Project management, product management, all of these different careers that live inside of the arts, a lot of the people who've been following us for years still didn't understand that like I could make a creative career for myself. Which is a aha moment for me, where I was like, oh wow, we were doing a lot of great events, having a great time, doing these boot camps, but we've almost been doing this for close to 10 years, and there's still people part of our community. They're now learning that like my creative skill set can produce a job or a career or an opportunity. And I say all three of those things because I feel like in 2022, it's not only about employment anymore. I feel like it's about career opportunities, because creative people, in some sense, have a lot more opportunities because they don't necessarily have to take the job. They can approach working with a brand as, you know, a client, or, you know, taking on projects or short projects, or even negotiating what it looks like to work at the place that they have employment. So I always try to stay away from just saying get a job when it comes to creative people, because they actually have a lot more opportunities to create what they want it to look like. And then the last piece was, once I had these two things, I had the art on sneaker competition, and then I also had the boot camp model. Dwayne Edwards, who's the president of Pensole College, he has always supported me. You know, he's been judges at a lot of the things that we've done. He's helped us build curriculum. And I was at a real turning point where I was getting ready to join another organization just because of COVID. It was getting really hard. And then we decided, you know, how would it look if we were to just combine forces, and have MARTK'D be an outreach exercise for the school, and then also Dion work with Pensole College to help them bring in and manage all their partnerships. So that's where we're at now, where it's like MARTK'D is now becoming more of community engagement outreach for Pensole and itself. But the outcome is very much, how do we get more people of color to understand that there's creative careers and you can build a career around creativity, and the place that can help you do that would be Pensole College. Which, to just speak on Pensole College a little bit, it's a historically Black college that's focused on design. And there hasn't really, I don't think there's ever been one of those before. And I know for sure it's the first historically Black college that's recently reopened, that's in Detroit. So the fact that we have now a historically Black college that's yelling the theme of creative careers, I feel like it's such a important time for us, but then also like how it's going to help shape the future of what creative careers can look like. So that's kind of my story and how I got to where I am today. Um, but there's so much opportunities when it comes to creativity, and even if people don't know what they are, part of why MARTK'D and Pensole are doing what we do is to create them for people. So that's kind of my spiel, but I wanted to open it up to questions because I was hoping to have some young people to ask the million questions, but I think we could keep it small here.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Uh, Dion, you said that you all are based in Detroit.
Mhm.
So for as far as the creative space, have you all connected um, with Eric Thomas, ETA, Eric Thomas and Associates, or Dr. Not Dr. Jason Williams and the Cave Abdullah, or
Okay,
Cave 313.
I don't think
Um,
maybe Dwayne has, our president. I know we haven't connected with ET and team. I know they're doing some really big stuff over there. Which I didn't mention is CCS is actually one of our partners. I know that they have a big presence in Detroit, but ETA, that team there is, they've been doing great work for the last while. So of course, like we would love to do something with them.
Awesome. Yeah, the cave of I don't know if I'm pronouncing it the right way, but the cave of Abdullah. I don't know if you've ever seen bald-headed black dude wrote a book, The War on like War Within
Okay.
Male Emotions. His name is Jason Wilson.
Okay.
He was on are you familiar with him?
I
He was
think
on
is
Joe
that
Rogan. He was on everywhere. He
I
just
think
recently did a documentary on his dojo.
yeah, and he had the kid that started to cry when he wanted to
And he
punch through
said
the wood.
you
Yes,
got to be a
yes,
lion
yes,
and a
yes,
lamb
yes.
at the same time. Yeah,
Yeah,
they just
yes,
recently did a
yes, yes.
documentary with Lawrence Fishburne. They won in Sundance, Tribeca. I'm sorry, I think it was Tribeca. They won a whole bunch of awards for best documentary. But he has that outreach with with kids about expressing themselves, about building discipline, and talking about a lot of social issues. And I know that that's you came up in
Hmm.
social work. I didn't know if somehow that maybe tapping into that,
Of
to, at least
course.
just to let them know that y'all are just in the building, and this is a resource. If you feel like you're a rapper, if you feel like you're a sneakerhead, a designer, artist, or something, this is what we have. I don't know if that connection.
No, there is, and I think I want to say Dwayne, the president, Dwayne Edwards, or Dr. Dwayne Edwards. I want to say he has a connection with him, like they're friends personally. But like, you just brought up a great point that what people don't realize is when you're working in the creative space, um, especially for us, like we're trying to bring in people and give them more opportunities. But the piece that we forget is like creativity has been suffocated for so long that like now you go and work for a New Balance. There's the soft skills that a lot of our people don't necessarily have because they weren't able to pick it up along the way. So like I use basketball in a lot of my examples is because we idolize sports, right? We don't
Yes.
necessarily idolize creativity in the same way. So like you'll put a young man or a young woman through, do you know how to tie your tie? Or, do you know how to say good morning when it comes to sports? But we're seeing a lot of young people come to our school and they don't have those skills because it's not idolized, it's not prioritized for a creative person, right? So we're now starting to think of it as the same way an athlete would need support to play in the NBA, a creative person would need support to work at Nike.
That's awesome, and it's definitely needed.
Hmm.
It's a problem. You guys have a solution for it. It's amazing.
We're
I'm
trying.
I'm on board. I'm on for it. I do stuff like that for a living by trade. Right now, I'm a guidance counselor or career coach
Got it.
for an alternative school. So I'm helping them with their resumes, applying for college, and make sure your email is good and those soft skills that you need to get into whatever post secondary plan you have.
Absolutely. And
So
it's
it's definitely
yeah,
needed.
yeah. I mean, for us, we're such an untraditional college with like programs like Marked. It's almost like we're trying to jump over the traditional education system. And what we call it is like, how do you go from education to industry? Like, how do we educate you in a way that if Nike was to come to you tomorrow, you're 80% ready to work for them? Some of the blind spots on the Nike and the brand sides that's made all of these crazy announcements is you can't expect someone who has never had access to working at a Nike to walk into Nike and have all the skills, but have the social skills as well. So it's a blind spot in the industry.
I agree. And due to the difference of generations, like we weren't born with all of this technology. We had to actually had conversations with kids. We were grown that we were raised to, hey, shake hands, look at someone in their eye, know, do a head nod, respect your elders. You say please, thank you. Those type of social skills we were
Right.
born with, but
Yep.
this generation and the generations to come are not. They're not so in that. So it's
Yeah.
definitely needed.
Yeah, for sure. Technology plays a serious part.
So I think for me, Dion, my question is coming from the perspective of so we collaborate with 110 now. I'm sure you're familiar with 110 and the work they're doing.
Hmm.
How does Pensole now go to skilling up? What is the cost of education? Because that has always been one of the factors that have held back Black and Brown people is the cost of education. We know HBCUs traditionally don't carry that heavy burden, but they still have to pay for the space that they live in. They still have to pay for faculty. How are you guys able to recruit young adults with the soft skills? What are your expectations in terms of requirements for them to um, apply and enter that school?
Yeah, I would say, we take the traditional model and turn it upside down in that our biggest gap, I would say, is recruitment. So we just need more students and young people to understand that Pensole Lewis College is a resource for them.
Mhm.
What we hang our head on is keeping brands accountable. So, we work, a lot of our master classes that we work on are free, right? So it's less about, here's John. John knows about Pensole. Now, how are you going to get, financial backing to come to our school? What we're saying is like, John, you have an interest. I hope you're ready to work. Here's an opportunity for you that's free of charge because we're going to do the work to get a brand to pay for your experience. So
Mhm.
all you really have to do, whether it's Barbara or John, is show up and be ready to work and fine tune your skills. You may not get into the first master class. And that's why I say I look at it kind of like a sport, because it's like you may try out for the team and you didn't get on the team. That doesn't mean you quit, right?
Right.
You stay in the gym and you work on your skills. And then the next time it comes around, you make the cut. We're taking that same philosophy where it's like, we're good. Our job is to keep brands accountable, keep the industry accountable to get you an opportunity for next to free to low cost. So we'll take on that burden. The burden
Mhm.
we're asking our students or our outreach or our participants, people to take on is to come ready to work and fine tune your skills.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
So where do they get started in terms of applying? Do they go to the Pencil website or?
yes, they would go to Pensole website. Just literally, they can just put in their information, and they're part of our universe, and they'll start sending them updates on all the different classes that we have to offer. We're now starting to work on like our outreach and like how we can bring these resources to people. So like if you have in-person experiences that there's going to be a lot of young people at, I would love to know, because we can send out a team, set up a table. And that's really where we are at a young school stage, where it's like, how do we let a lot of people know that we're actually here,
Mhm.
right? So right now it's been a lot of virtual and online just because of where we all are coming out of. But now what we're going back into is the traditional ways of like bringing it to where they're at versus them having to come find us.
I think Justin had a question. Did you have a question, Justin?
Yes, awesome. What are the age ranges that you all work with, and are there any disqualifiers from Pencil? Um,
Uh, I would say for our classes, it's been 18. So 18 plus. We do outreach to high school and younger, just more of like getting them ready and prime them for applying for what Pencil has to offer us in the future. But as far
okay,
as our classes are now, our only requirement really is 18 plus. We have some classes where it's female only. We have some classes that, we're asking for, like we have a reentry program that we're thinking about right now. So we'll be targeting that towards people who have marks on their name. But like from an age standpoint, it'd be 18 plus.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
One last quick question, Dion. I know you said that you all are moving post pandemic. You all are trying to move forward to just everything in the physical. If there's Is it something where there's all virtual? Because I have some Florida students who are creative.
Right.
But if there was something that they could do everything virtual, how would they? Is that
Yeah,
possible?
so we have like
Oh yes.
three different ways that we usually work. There's the in-person piece, which Mark does an in-person, Pencil does a in-person master class. How our master classes work for Pencil is usually we have a brand that underwrites a certain amount of young people that will then be flown to Pencil for 4 to 6 weeks, be a fully accommodated, and you're like it's like a scholarship for a master
Mm,
class, right?
wow.
But it's competitive, right? Because like we just did something with Carhartt, 30 students, you had a good amount of students who applied. That's one. The other way is strictly virtual. So like the same thing we would do in person, we do it in a virtual setting. And then the last part is like we call it hybrid. So you would do a large part of it virtually and then convert to an in-person piece, like maybe fly the students out to Pencil to present their final product. Just depends on budget, depends on the program, but like we're definitely have a lot of different ways to engage with us.
And so that hybrid at the end, you said the final product, final presentation, was that maybe approximately what, a week
It depends.
out?
It depends
Couple
on
days?
how we build out the program. It could be a week. It could be 4 days. It really just depends on like how we structure the curriculum and the program.
Okay. And again, competitive scholarship, I'm assuming if that's a full ride and that'll
Yeah,
be taken care of.
yeah. Be a full ride. The only thing you have to pay for is your food, from day to day,
You
right?
got it.
So yeah,
That's
that's
not
it.
too bad.
Yeah, you can figure it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you can figure it out. You know, you're gonna have to learn how to cook in some cases, which you need to do anyway to survive out here. So you know.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. So this is awesome. I will definitely have this updated and let all of my high schoolers know. And I
Okay,
deal with youth that are 18 and above. I deal with youth all the way up till age 22.
perfect, perfect.
So yeah, those who are creative, I'll definitely be sending them your way. The diamonds in the rough, I will send them your way.
Yeah, that's who we're looking for, to be honest. So send those over. Please share any assets or anything that you guys need me to share amongst Pensole and just the community, and I'll get it out.
But we're gonna go back to the main session. I know you probably have to log off, but again, thank you so much. I
No,
will
no
be in
worries.
touch.
For sure. Reach
Miles,
out.
Regina, Justin, thank you. And see you guys later.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right,
See y'all.
take care.
Okay, bye-bye.